Hi there, I'm Scotty Forsyth, professional voice actor and pop culture enthusiast. Today, we're talking about my favorite horror movie of all time, and Jordan Peele's directorial debut. We're obviously talking about the classic, Get Out. I'll be going over why this movie made me fall in love with horror, how it's inspired me to create, and of course, why I think it's best of all. But first, let's take a quick break and get right back to the show. So for those unaware, Get Out follows the story of a black man named Chris, played by the outstanding actor Daniel Kaluuya, who you will, if you see him, you probably know who he is, but I mean, he's most known for this movie. And he is taking a trip with his girlfriend to meet her family for the very first time. On top of this, there are reports of a kidnapping in kind of the general vicinity. That's how the movie opens. It's important to mention that Chris's girlfriend, Rose, and the rest of her family are white. And throughout the movie, they ensure that they aren't racist, even though certain interactions and comments and other outliers kind of have Chris unsure, and things may not seem as well as they look. And that's probably as much as I'll talk about the movie because I don't want to spoil anything. So one thing that's so cool about this movie is, like, this was a long time project and such a passionate story that Jordan Peele wanted to tell. So he kind of hit the public eye as a cast member in the TV comedy series Mad TV. Good comedy series that was similar to SNL. He was a part of it through a big chunk of that show, I believe, for most of its run. And most important with him being in Mad TV was he met Keegan-Michael Key, who became one of his well-known comedy partners, best friends, and they together made the Comedy Central mega hit Key and Peele, which is how I was introduced to Jordan Peele. I love Key and Peele so much. It's one of my favorite sketch comedy shows ever. Key and Peele are two of my favorite comedians and duos especially, and from 2012 to 2015 they had this show that I fully fell in love with. I still watch it today. I still watch some of their sketches, and they just had such a great understanding of comedy, what made things funny. They talked a lot about race, and a lot of their own personal lives was in their own projects, and Keegan and Jordan really made this name for themselves of comedy. So it may come as a surprise that Jordan Peele developed a horror movie. But in the way that you hear Jordan Peele in his interviews, which I highly recommend, not just watching this movie and why I like it, which I'll get to, but listening to Jordan Peele talk in interviews and about the stuff that he makes is so fascinating because he has such an understanding of craft and what makes things work. And that really translated well to horror because he even said in an interview that I don't have in my notes, I can't quote, but he says something paraphrased along the lines of comedy is already so situational and off the wall and silly that translates really well to horror because you can have a horrific situation or a scary, monster movie, slasher movie, paranormal movie, and you can still find the humor in that because inherently what's happening in those movies is a little bit ridiculous. And so during this whole time of his comedy career, he's always had a love for horror. The Shining is one of his favorite films, and he references it in nearly everything he does. And after a dozen different rewrites and revisions, finally, Get Out came out in 2017 and was a smash hit. I'm pulling this quote directly from Wikipedia. Don't come at me. I do a lot of different stuff for research. Yes, I use Wikipedia sometimes. So this is a paraphrased snippet of just some of the numbers that Get Out did when it originally released. So 3 weeks after it released, Get Out crossed the $100 million mark domestically, making Jordan Peele, the first black writer and director to do so with a debut movie, Later on in April, the film became the highest grossing film directed by a black filmmaker. So this was a significant piece of pop culture. And clearly, Jordan Peele did something that worked and resonated with audiences. Nowadays, we have so many movies that come out in February and do amazing, and it's all because of Get Out. I don't know, Jordan Peele found the secret sauce of when to release a movie, like what it takes to make a movie, and just nailed it to perfection. And then it went on to win Best Original Screenplay at the 90th Academy Awards. It got nominated for Best Actor, Director, and Best Picture, which I think it should have won all of those, but it was also going up against Shape of Water, so I understand, because I think Shape of Water won Director. Regardless, this movie is doing something well, and what I love about Get Out is, because I put it off seeing it for a very long time, because I didn't like horror, I didn't like scary movies, and I'm like, I don't really want to see this, but I love Jordan Peele. When you watch it, is it a scary movie? Absolutely. But it's scary in the sense that it feels so real. This is a very genuine movie about, without spoiling anything, the differences with race and prejudice and racism, wanting to fit in with a family, or possibly considering fitting into a family that, in the character Chris's case, sees a lot of stuff that's kind of unsettlingly racist. The family has a housekeeper and a maid who are black, and that irks them the wrong way, rightfully so. Which, I mean, me being a white Hispanic person, I have never been in this situation, but I can still appreciate the movie and appreciate the story. And it helps me see a life that I have never been in. But so it's little things like that, to where the beginning of the movie opens with a black man getting kidnapped, but you don't know how it ties into Chris's story, and even if it does or not. I've heard some people call this movie a thriller rather than a horror movie, because there is a underlying mystery that you don't know if this is all in Chris's head, if he is just over worrying, over exaggerating these fears that he has that are completely natural and happen to a majority of people. The family bends over backwards in like a very overbearing way to prove that they're not racist, saying things like, oh yeah, when we like studied abroad and we were studying the African culture, like we got this. I mean, not even knowing if Chris's family has roots in Africa. Like, it's little things like that where the family will say something. There's a very famous line where the dad of the family, the patriarch, he says, like, oh, I would have voted for Obama a third time if I could. Like, he keeps saying that to Chris because he's black. And so it's like, is that like him just trying to fit in? Is this the first black person he's ever met? Or is there something sinister behind the scenes? And I can't say anything because I don't want to spoil the movie. It's done in such a satisfying and interesting way, to where when you go back and watch the movie again, you will notice things that you didn't notice before. There are so many little touches that are so intentional that Jordan Peele put in. He really, really wants to make a movie that people can look at and re-examine on multiple viewings. I've watched the movie like 3 or 4 times, and I always find something new when I'm watching it, which is wild to me. Because I was not particularly crazy about horror, I had the movie spoiled for me. I wanted to know like what was going on before I watched it with friend of the show and best friend Tristan, because we sat and watched it together. We've watched every single one of Jordan Peele movies together, but I was still engaged. Even if I knew some of the twists and turns in the movie, I still found it highly engaging, and I highly recommend you just go in and watch this movie. Like, don't spoil yourself for it. Just watch it. And I had always just assumed that the horror genre was just for blood and guts and kind of like the feeling of being on a roller coaster, just to get scared, just to have a jump, and then root for the final girl at the end, or I don't know, a bunch of bad people to die. That is just what I always expected the movie, that movie genre to be. And in some cases, it is. And that's fine. It's not my favorite type of horror. But something more poignant, something more intentional, created by a guy who absolutely loves the genre, showed me that there is so much going on that is intentional and way more thought-provoking. And I grew up in a very conservative Christian environment. I'm from my mom, from my dad, that like, oh, all of this is evil, and that's not true. That in movies like Halloween or like Get Out, Us, and Nope, which just recently released, like these movies have something very intentional to say. And especially with Jordan Peele's movies, he has kind of elevated and raised the bar to make not just horror movies, but movies in general that have a very clear and direct story to tell, and they're doing it in just a very creative medium. And that is so inspiring to me. I, in my own time, have written and want to do different projects, particularly novels. And I struggled, and I've rewritten, and I've thrown stuff out and put things back together, and I get really discouraged, and I'm like, I don't know how is this going to be made. And then as I grow and learn more about myself, my identity, I have stories that I want to tell that are very particular to me, that I'm like, I don't know if people want to hear that. And Jordan Peele was in the same boat, obviously. And I say all of this not to compare myself, but to understand where he's at. Because clearly, being a white dude, I have all of these different privileges that come with my life, and I fully recognize that. And Jordan Peele didn't. Now he's fully said that he grew up pretty middle class as well, so he has had different aspects of his life that were different than even the character Chris in the movie, who, not a spoiler, but he lost his mom at a very early age, and she was a single mother. That's a very, that's a fictional story, but a very real scenario for a lot of people. But it's like seeing this commonality is really unique, and it helps me broaden my sense of the world, or at least what I was taught, that this was my world, and to see other stories be told, and to see other creators of all types of folk who can make a story that is deeply personal to them and very impactful and clearly very successful. There is a interview with Keegan-Michael Key, who had no involvement with the movie, but he talked about, and I'm paraphrasing this interview that he had, and he said that the idea of producers investing in movies or in scripts that they don't understand, that they should do it. They should need to take it because that will lend to like make a human story being told. If a straight white producer guy sees a story and goes like, "Oh, I don't get it," it's like, well, it's not for you, but you can have the opportunity to let the story shine and be for somebody else. And a lot of that context of that interview was talking about inclusion writers, which is giving the opportunity for companies and productions to be more diverse with women, LGBTQ people, with people of color, which I am fully in favor for. And if I had my own production company, I would also want to have an inclusion writer, like, manifesto in that as well, because I think that's really important to have people have the opportunity to tell their personal stories from all walks of life and all around the world, and to break away from the same story that we've been told over and over and over again is so unique. And it all stems from Get Out. Because I mean, there's no secret that I'm releasing an episode about Get Out because his most recent movie, Nope, just released. And And I was going back and forth on what movie I would recommend because after seeing Nope, I freaking loved it. Nope is my favorite of his movies so far. And I really, really enjoy Us. And I'm probably going to watch it, again, as soon as I finish recording this. But Get Out is such a tentpole in modern cinema and has helped push the Hollywood industry. And Get Out is the perfect example of showing why diverse stories are important, why they work, and why they resonate with so many people. And it makes me so excited because the world and movies are changing and changing for the better and telling these wonderful stories that people can love and get genuine fear from and ultimately delight from something that is so powerful. So I've been a little cagey on the actual story beats of Get Out. Maybe one day I'll sit down with Tristan and we'll talk about and do a full spoiler cast of Get Out, Us, and Nope. But this episode ended up becoming more about what Jordan Peele did with his directorial debut and how impactful that it was. And I am so excited to see what more he makes. I highly recommend everybody, if you're interested in Get Out and you like it, go see Nope. It is phenomenal. And then go check out Us. I think you'll like it just as much as the other two. And I cannot wait to see more of what he does and the young people that are going to be inspired by him to make movies just as good or even better than what Jordan Peele can do. So like I mentioned, you can check out Nope, which is currently playing in theaters. And it looks like it's going to be available for streaming in November. But more importantly, because it's the main topic of the episode, you can watch Get Out digitally or on DVD wherever you rent movies. The same thing as Us. You can find them. Go to Best Buy. You'll be able to see it. And you're in for a really good time. And you're in for what I consider the best entry into the horror series, or even just the pinnacle of what horror can be and why horror is a great franchise. Not franchise, genre. There we go. That's the right word, genre. So overall, there's the what's what on Get Out. If you have any other thoughts on the movie or Jordan Peele or Nope, please feel free to email us at mail@ScottyMeLad.com. That is mail@ScottyMeLad.com. Your letter might even be read on the show. Let me know if you go see Nope and if you liked it. I want to hear your thoughts on Nope. You can also stay up to date on all things Best of All on Twitter at ScottyMeLad. And you can also support us on Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/ScottyMeLad. That is, once again, Scotty with a Y, MELAD. You can help us by donating or giving monthly. We have different tiers for monthly subscribers. At our Ko-fi page, you can gain access to behind-the-scenes content. You can engage with the community, help us reach goals to improve our podcasts, because we do more things than just Best of All. But hopefully you've taken something out of this episode and will give Get Out or the Jordan Peele catalog of cinematic wonders a shot. But best of all, you were a listener, and we at ScottyMeLad thank you. And that's my closer. Best of All was hosted and produced by Scott D. Forsythe, using the song Mia by Rolando Puchades from the album Canta as our intro and outro theme.